and Journal Nacional, and yes, welcome. I'd like to welcome you.
Hello, everybody. It's a pleasure to present in this event. This research is a comparative analysis in two TV journals from Brazil and from Portugal. I'm speaking with you from Brazil, south of Brazil. It's early morning here, 7 a.m. How my first language is Portuguese, and I apologize for any mistakes in this presentation, please. I am a journalist, documentarist, and university professor. I have been working with the television for over 20 years, and as journalism professor since 2003, almost 20 years too. And I'm here to talk about my paper, The Voices of Female Sources on Television Reportages, a case study of Jornal das Oito from Portugal and Jornal Nacional from Brazil. Let me put to present here. Yeah. I'm a Doctor of Information Science by Universidade Fernando Pessoa in Portugal and grand double degrees of communication by Universidade Federal do Paraná in Brazil. This text is part of my thesis called Female Voices on Television Reportages, a comparative analysis between television news programs from Portugal and Brazil from the feminist standpoint. My research aims to understand how women, as sources, are treated in journalism, and this study is therefore an interface between journalism and gender studies. This research question can provide answers regarding the social places of the female sources, visualized by the TV news, through the gathering of quantitative data analyzed based on gender theories and feminist epistemology. These are my authors that serve as the basis for my research. We have here Françoise Verger and Simone de Beauvoir from France, Gayatri Spivak from India, Marcia Veiga, Lélia Gonçalves, and Sueli Carneiro from Brazil, Judith Butler from United States, and Grada Quilomba from Portugal. And here, Mauro Wolff and Nelson Traquina from Portugal, Nilson Lage and Aldo Schmidt from Brazil, and Gay Tuchman from Argentina. The concept of femininity spans the various feminisms with their characteristics and discussions, but not merely with these authors. Authors such as Spivak, Bell Hooks, Linda Okoff, and Patricia Hill Collins discuss the standpoint of women in society from the point of view of the discourse. According to Linda Okoff, to speak for the other, even if for other women, is to have an arrogant, vain, unethical attitude, and can be considered to be a politically illegitimate act. Jamila Ribeiro says all individuals have their standpoint, but each from their social location. The Black transgender woman speaks from her social standpoint, as does the cisgender white man too. Feminist standpoint is reconstructed upon theories in order to be presented as being synonymous with the visibility of the person who speaks and is heard, and not with the standpoint to make other people shut up. It is important to think about. My methodology now. This research is a comparative analysis of the visualization of the voices of female sources in two programs, JA from TVI Portugal and JN from TV Globo Brazil, both having the largest audience in their respective countries. The profiles of these female sources are categorized according to age group, phenotypic marks, representation, professional, and social place. The editions of television news programs on ordinary days is comparing to the special editions of the March date, International Women's Day. We can see here, Ordinary's Day in green and International Women's Day in pink, I think. And we have three parts of comparison. As a result of the comparative analysis, it was possible to perceive a pattern in the two programs. Women speak less than men as sources. The blue color in the graph represents the journalist's speeches, here and here. The other two colors are from the fonts. Orange is the speech of men and lilac, the women. However, a discrepancy was found. JA from Portugal gives more visibility to sources than JN from Brazil. And the difference between men and women is smaller in JN from Portugal than Brazil. While JN gives less visibility to sources, and the difference between men and women as sources is much greater. We can see the numbers of the quantitative of the voice in each newspaper, TV news in this graph. Another rather significant result is that in terms of phenotype, there is more diversity of female sources in JN from Brazil than in J8 from Portugal, which becomes very clear in the item that introduces the persona of the two television news programs using images. We found that among the women who speak the most as sources for JA in Portugal, we have an absolutely majority of white women. This slide shows example of the female sources found in JA Portugal. The images of the women were chosen to represent their grouping, which we refer by personas. The name we call is personas. As you notice, they are all white women in different ages and jobs. The 10th position, we have all white women. This slide now shows images from JN from Brazil. We can see more diversity. There is both white and black women. We have the greatest variety of phenotypic traits. Black women became visible in the TV news, the position 7 and 8, but only 20% of voices came from black women sources. In Brazil, we have 50% of women in our population, 52% of women in our population, but we have only 20% of voices of black women in sources of JN. What can we do to have more female presence and diversity? As journalists, researchers, professors, we have a duty to seek diversity in our work. This way, we will allow to different points of view to be made visible. In this room, we have women and men presenting the results of your research. I hope that in the future, we can find this diversity in another type of conference, not just in this type of conference. Thank you very much. Now I have all of my sources, theoretical sources, and I grade of them too. Thank you.
Thank you very much, dear professor, for your nice presentation. You point out a great topic starting for this whole. I would like to ask to the participants, dear professors, do you have any questions to the Professor Nodari? Any comments or contributions on the presentation? Thank you very much, dear professor, for your nice presentation, nice study. Let's continue with the next study. Dear Professor Das is here now. I would like